how many times do you read your book before sending it off to the next stage, whatever that stage might be?
Countless. Double digits, triple digits. I read it so many times, and not always say from cover to cover, but sections to sections or groups of chapters. But then cover to cover will happen as well. But I'll end up reading internally groups of chapters countless times, hundreds of times. So much so that I could probably recite an entire chapter just offhand if I really needed to. And inevitably, there will be typos and and errors that make it through. And it's like, how many times have I read that line? Where did that come from? They really need an award, like the best typo award. How did you make it through all of my rereads and all of the editors' rereads and my third editor's reread? Like, how did you make it through? But no, I will read and reread and reread and reread, and it really helps as well to take a break. So to see it with fresh eyes. So I've got to, after I've done all the rereading that I can do, don't jump into the publication. It's like set it aside for a month, set it aside for 2 months, just let it sit and simmer. And then whenever you go back, it's practically like reading a whole new story. As many times as you read it, and you're going, "Wow, I didn't realize, how this sounded, or how these phrases slipped off the tongue or got caught on the tongue. I didn't realize that before because I was so much in my own head. So you really need that break to see it fresh. But yeah, I'll reread it quite a bit.
You reread your books after they are published, and can you read your own work for fun?
Oh, no and no. No. So what happens if I reread, I try, I want to reread after they're published because I want to enjoy it as a reader. I have not reached that point yet. When I go back to read something that's been published, I end up still reading as an editor, and I'm finding all of these little lines and all of these little phrases that needed to be redone, and I want to redo them, but I can't because it's already published. Or I find the typos and I'm like, no, 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 I want to fix this. So I can't really read it for fun, but that is, I think, part of the joy of having the audiobooks is once my narrator narrates it and it publishes on Audible, that's when I can actually sit back and listen to it for fun. And it's amazing how listening to it from someone else's interpretation, because she puts her own spin on it, it's almost like a book that I have never read before. It's a whole new experience, and that's when I can sit back and really enjoy it. And I don't see the typos because I'm just listening to it. There might be some awkward wording, but I don't get stuck on it because she keeps going. I can't like stop and reread that sentence and say, that could have been better phrased. No, I'm just part of the experience. So I can really enjoy them if I'm listening to it as an audiobook, but rereading it, I can't do it.
How fast do you read audiobooks? Because I can get to like 2.3 speed.
Oh goodness. I just leave it on. I don't even play with the speed. I just leave it on whatever's there. So it'll end up
Mhm.
taking me, an entire day or 2 days,
Mhm.
depending on how determined I am to listen to it.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll get so caught up that I just cancel the whole day and I just sit and listen to her. And it's not even so much that I'm
Mhm.
enjoying my own book. It's that I'm enjoying her narration so much
Mhm.
that I'm like, I can't stop listening. It's
Yeah.
riveting. I'll end up, polishing off a whole day just listening.
Do you ever give pointers to the audiobook narrators? Like, I want this section to be like more emotional, or I want this section to be more like lighthearted and upbeat, or is the narrator all by herself doing her own thing?
For the most part, I mean, she is an artist far more experienced than I am. I don't I that is an area that I am not an expertise, and she is, and so I trust everything she does. And what I want is her interpretation on it. I don't want to force my interpretation. So let's say if there is a scene that I thought should be more emotional and maybe she didn't read it that way, obviously that's how it read, at least to her. So why force my view on her when I would rather know what her interpretation is? Now, before we get started, I will give her some of that, say, psychological, like we were talking about, some of that psychological backdrop of the characters before she's ever even read the story for herself. I'll say, okay, so here's kind of the backstory of these characters. This is where their mindset is. These are their fears, and she'll take all that into consideration. And I might have some accent pointers of this is what I was going for. I don't know if it comes across on the page, but here's what I was going for, and she can kind of play with them. But ultimately, she has her own interpretation. So whenever she reads the book, it's like this is how I was feeling the character. This is how I was hearing him come off the page, and I go with it because she is a brilliant artist, and I am not about to mess with that that expertise.
What about cover designs? How involved are you in the design of the cover for your books?
Similar to the audiobook, I trust the cover artist. I trust their vision. I trust their eye. I have no graphic design experience, so anything I say might just be really terrible idea. They also know the market better. They know the trends. They know what's going to work, what's going to not work. So I may see a cover that I really like, and that's so yesterday.
Hmm.
Whereas they're up on the trends. Um, but I will give uh, ahead of them actually working on the cover, I will give sort of like symbols of vibe. Like this is supposed to have a gothic vibe. This is supposed to have a whimsical rom-com vibe. So I'll give some kind of theme, some kind of vibe, any kind of colors that I thought might connect to the characters, any kind of setting like that. The themes, the symbols, the colors. I might even describe kind of not. I never describe the physical of the characters, but I will describe that mindset of she's really stubborn, or she's headstrong, or she's submissive, or he's arrogant, or he's kind of nerdy, or I'll go with descriptions like that, and then the artist can do her own interpretation. All I really ask is that none of my heroes look like they are advertising shampoo, and as long as that doesn't happen, we are good to go. I like to think that my characters have more dignity than that.
Thank you. As a reader, I thank you.
You have experience in both traditional and self-publishing, right?
Correct?
Okay.
Correct.
How did the processes differ between the two?
Well, with traditional publishing, you really only get to focus on the creative side, and not that you don't have to worry about the practical side, so you're not wearing so many hats.
Mhm.
It's a fantastic choice for folks who really do want to just focus on the creative element. They can write their story, they can revise their story, they can listen to the expert editors in how to make it better, how to improve it, how to revise it, and they're not worried about everything else because the traditional house will take care of everything else. They're doing the marketing, the publicity, the outreach, the nitty gritty, the design work, the cover design, the for everything they're worrying about, and you're just focused on the creativity. So that's really nice. The indie side, though, the self-publishing side, is you doing all the work. So you then have to balance the creativity with the practicality. You're doing the marketing, you're doing the formatting, you're doing the design, you're doing everything, you're doing the outreach, and that's perfect for folks who like the control. They get to say exactly what's on their cover if well, if they don't give their cover artist all the leeway like I do. But you get to decide, say, what font you want to use for the interior of your book. You have that much control. And you also can, I think, have more opportunity to connect with the readers. Since you're doing your own marketing, you can have the social side be like an extension of your writing, where you're you're sharing your process, you're sharing the psychology behind the characters, you're sharing the research, you're doing all of this as an extension, and I like that control. So as nice as it is to have someone else do everything else, I mm, what if I don't like the font that they use? What if I don't like how they did the chapter headings? What if I don't, I want to be able to do it. So it's a lot of extra work, and it's not for everybody. I think some people really need to go the traditional route, and I think others need to consider exploring the self-publishing. But it is a lot of work. So you gotta know what you're getting into.
Well, since you said that you're in the self-publishing and you are in more control of your own social media, how do you think the social media landscape has changed the way you write or the way you have balanced your work? Like Facebook, Instagram, you would need to do that publishing so people do read your book. But how much do you actually spend writing versus promoting your books on social media?
I think the question should be how much time do I spend mindlessly scrolling Instagram versus no. um it's pretty easy to get lost in social media, and it's pretty easy to let the marketing side take over. Um, but I have approached it as, say, an extension of the writing. So it's not something separate, like, oh, I've got to do the marketing. Oh, I've got to do the writing. Instead, it's if I'm researching something for a chapter, I'll share it on social media. And so then my readers can be part of that research process. They can be part of the writing process. Um, if I'm digging into the psychology of a character, I'll share it on social media. So again, they're part of that process. So the social side ends up being an extension of the writing itself. And then in that way, not only is it not time consuming or stealing away from the creativity, if anything, it's feeding it that much more. Um, but it also provides some feedback, some instant feedback. So if somebody asks a question, follow-up question, or they say, "Oh, I don't really like that. What about this?" And I'm thinking, oh, "I didn't think about what about this. That's a great question. What about this?" And then I can incorporate in the story as I'm writing it, and so that I get that sort of instant feedback. And and in this way they I mean it ends up becoming sort of symbiotic where the marketing is fueling the writing is fueling the marketing, and it's never, two different things. I'm promoting my book. I'm writing my book, and then the promotion gets in the way of the writing because you're spending all of your time scheduling, promotion or trying to, engage in readers about it. And they should really work in tandem. So, I write, I share what I'm writing, I research, I share what I'm researching, and it ends up taking no time at all because I do it, I post it, and then I get feedback from it, and then so it ends up being a great relationship between the two. And I don't know what I would do honestly without it. I would be stuck in my own world, and then I wouldn't be able to share all the cool things. So if I find something really cool, maybe not all the readers are going to think it's cool, but if I think it's cool, I want to share it. And there's only so much you can do with, say, phoning the BFF and say, "Hey, guess what I found out about the canal building?" And, the BFF is going to say, "I really don't care. Thanks for sharing." But there's going to be a reader out there that is like, "This is so cool." So I get to share it, and somebody gets to enjoy it. And I think that's kind of what social media should be sort of all about. We're all in it together, geeking out.
And my family, the phrase is, did you know? And it's that stuff we're geeked out about, and you want to share that with someone. I love your approach of the social media and writing being in tandem. That is really a very novel idea from my perspective, and I really like that. I like that a lot. Um,
Oh,
so
thank
what
you.
do you think about AI? AI and the thoughts about AI on writing. I was looking at the Authors Guild website, and they noted that there are some copyright infringements lawsuits against AI companies because they've been using copyrighted material to train AI. What do you think the future is going to be with writing now that we've got AI?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. That's the short answer. It certainly feels scary sometimes when you have work pirated, when you have your creative work stolen, and you're not given any sort of you're not asked permission, um, and that can feel I mean that's a violation. So I think there's going to have to be some sort of something done about that. More transparency of how AI is being trained, as well as more legal representation for authors so that they can retain their work and be asked. And if asked and they say, yes, I'd love for my work to be used as training or whatnot, then they can be compensated and as well as um, some sort of attribution of this author was trained, these authors were trained, these works were used. But uh, I've seen a lot of I've seen a rise of AI writing, either AI used in help of writing a book, or AI actually writing the whole book, and that gets a little scary for authors who are saying, "Well, I'm using my own creativity," and people are out there, writing books with AI. Is that going to take over? Is that going to steal, the job of the writers? And I don't think you can replace human creativity. I don't think you can replace human emotion. What the kinds of if you've really sat down and read some of the stories that AI writes, AI in general, obviously there's different little chatbots out there and they do different things and excel at different things, but just generally AI writing, it's very formulaic. It can mimic things like humor. It can mimic things like some sort of psychological um, eh, eh, connection, but it's still very formulaic, and it's not in any way convincing. um, it does not replace human writing, and it's usually pretty obvious too. And I think it's part of the formula where it feels like you are reading somebody stuck to, here is the exact outline, here's where the arc is, here like everything is sort of picture perfect in that way. Um, and it also has a tendency to hallucinate history. It'll hallucinate a lot of things, but it'll create, even though it's trying to showcase historical accuracy, it will hallucinate what was and what wasn't, to the point of that's not right. That's not right. And there's a difference. There's a difference, and I don't think that it can replace any kind of we know emotional connection. We know how we would react, and they are very textbook. AI is very textbook of this is how textbook wise somebody should react to the situation, and it's like no,
Mhm.
that's not how we'll actually react. And so we can capture that, but AI can't capture that. So I don't think it's as big a concern as maybe I'm being naive, but I don't think it's as big of a concern on the writing realm as some people fear it will be. But I do think there needs to be more transparency with, and please don't steal our work. Please don't steal our writing. Um, right now, I think it's a novelty. Hey, look, writing or AI can write a cool story, but it's not something that really resonates with us. It's not something we connect to. So how long is that going to last? It's a cool thing right now, but I don't think it's going to last long?
I think because it is so formulaic, people recognize it. And
Sure.
there's such a big hate train against it. And I remember we had our discussion with our content team of AI tends to use like M dashes and they use it correctly because they, look at all the grammar. And so a lot of us on our team try to cut down on the now use of M dashes just because that's a pattern that it's recognized. And like if you use it, you might be accused of using AI to write, assignments or little expanded key terms and things. So I think it'll blow over, but yeah, you're right. It can't replace the human feeling that we all get and understand when like in that certain action or situation.
I will say, now that you said that,
Mhm.
I don't even know if I've been consciously aware, but certainly
Mhm.
subconsciously, now that you brought it to my attention, you're so let's say with M dashes,
Mhm.
I love and I've loved them since Emily Dickinson. I mean, she is the
Yes.
queen of M dashes, and it was I was like, this is going to be my punctuation mark. And
Mhm.
so my writing is filled with M dashes. But you're right. That's one of
Mhm.
the and there are others. There are especially certain sentence structures that it really likes and it repeats.
Mhm.
And I've caught that oddly enough only in the book that I'm writing now, not anything prior, but the one that I'm working on now. As
Mhm.
I'm writing it, and then I'll go back and reread a chapter, I'll get caught up on some of the sentences and the way it's written, and I really like it. But I'm thinking,
Mhm.
that kind of reminds me of one of AI's favorite sentence structures. I think I'm going to change
Mhm.
this. And so it's actually, in a way, changing my writing so that I'm not writing like it, even though I came first. I use that first. but but yeah, I don't I'm not going to get rid of my M dashes. But I have noticed that I'm cutting down. I'm like, okay, well, let's rephrase this because it's stealing my M dashes and I never really even knowing that I'm doing it, I wasn't really fully aware that I was doing it until you said that. So yeah, it is changing how we write, but in that way, isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's more just an awareness of how you write and how you can write differently.
Um, do you write differently if you know that things are going to be online or like narrated as well? Or do you kind of just stick to what you know for like audiobook and things like that?
Oh, I will definitely change things knowing that it's going to be say on audiobook. Um for instance, there'll be a lot of say dialogue tags in writing to help writers know what's going on, but you don't need those in audiobook. So it provides an opportunity to think of how can I do this differently so that I'm not having dialogue tag after dialogue tag after dialogue tag, which is really going to bog down the audiobook recording and be repetitive. How can I do this differently? And in this way, I think it really improves the writing because I will change a dialogue tag to say a scene action. Now, I don't want, say, character foibles where um, my action is that he's going to arch his eyebrow, and then somebody else says something and he arches that eyebrow again. And by the time we finish the scene, he's arched this eyebrow 20 times. And at this point, he's got like a facial tick, and like that's not what you want. So it has to be really intentional. So I'll reframe the scene where let's add a pot of tea. And they're going to be fiddling with the tea the whole time. Or let's add stormy weather and somebody has to get up and close the windows. And it becomes it becomes part of the scene frame to give them actions that aren't foibles, but to replace the dialogue tags. And it ends up enriching the scene. And that's something that I wouldn't have done. I would have been lazy and just added a dialogue tag if it were just going to be in writing. But knowing it's going to be an audiobook, I've got to make it good for the audiobook too. And in the end, it ends up making a better read on the page as well. So that's kind of cool.
Well, if you could summarize your goal as an author in one sentence, what would it be?
Oh, to help readers forget about the laundry for a little bit. No, I want a little bit, yes, but deeper than that. I want them to see themselves in the stories that I write and the characters that I write in a way that gives them hope that they too can overcome their fears, that they can overcome their barriers, that they can maybe even see their idiosyncrasies or what they might consider weakness, that they can see that as strengths, see how that they can use, see how they can tap into that to achieve their goals. Because not everything's a barrier. Things that we may perceive as weaknesses may be the very things that help us overcome whatever it is we're trying to overcome or accomplish that goal. So turning those strengths, turning those weaknesses into strengths. But I think sometimes we need that external factor to see it in ourselves. We may not see it, we'll see it in another character. And as we're seeing it in that other character, we start connecting and saying, oh my gosh, this is me. This is so me. And give them hope. I mean, all of my stories are, character driven, internal conflicts, no external conflicts. It's all internal. They're all trying to overcome something, whether they realize it or not. They're trying to overcome something and achieve a goal. And that's really what I want to connect for the readers. So, yes, to distract them from their laundry,
Mhm.
but in a way that they close the book and they say, I'm going to go accomplish my goals. I can overcome whatever it is I'm overcoming. And hey, somebody has seen me. I'm not in the shadows anymore. Somebody has recognized some weird quirk about me, and I feel seen, and I feel like I can accomplish anything now. Um, Maybe that's a lofty goal. Maybe that's too lofty.
Not at all. I think that's both goals are wonderful. Sometimes I just need to escape from the laundry. I don't want to think about that. And other times I want to be able to feel inspired to go accomplish something. Both are wonderful goals. And if you can do them both in the same book, more power to you. That's absolutely a wonderful, wonderful place for a reader to be.
What is a piece of advice that you would give aspiring authors that you wish someone had told you at the beginning of your career?
Uh, you got to start somewhere. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for inspiration. Just start. You can always improve. You can always strengthen. You can always research, but don't wait. Don't wait for that moment, that perfect moment. Wait for that vacation. Wait for that muse. Wait. Don't wait. Just start. Just start. Um, and from there be resilient enough that you can take it seriously and keep going, because some people will get to the point, some people never get to the point where they actually start, but once they get to the point that they start, some people will become so overwhelmed that they stop, or they'll become so intimidated by the idea of publishing or sharing their work with other people, maybe even fearing criticism, that they'll intentionally sabotage their own creativity and say, "Oh, I've got writer's block," and they won't finish. And it's like you can't be worried about what other people say. Who cares? I look at it as a growing experience. Look at it as a growing experience. All criticism becomes constructive. If you approach it that way. So look forward to sharing the writing. Look forward to getting the feedback, especially the negative feedback, because that is what will help you grow. And so just be resilient enough that you're going to take it serious and finish it. Start and finish. Don't be the person that never starts, and don't be the person that doesn't finish. So we need both of those. Um, yeah, I think that would be my advice. Start and then finish.
Wow. I feel like that was like a bah, if that makes sense. Like, yes, yes, I feel so inspired to go and start something and finish it because yeah, it makes sense what you're saying, and it was such a joy like listening to you, Paulette, and feeling your energy towards your writing and your passion. And it was such a fun interview to have.
Thank you. Thank you. I had a lot of fun. I'm a bit, high strung. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm over here having a blast and it's like I'm probably boring them to tears with my talk about canals.
No, no. This is slowly becoming the best part of at least for me, the job. Meeting with all these different people and the passion that it just kind of seeps through the skin, like it's not skin, screen. Well, seeps into my skin, you know. All everybody has had good things to say and they really enjoy what they're doing, and that just speaks volumes to different personalities and people and career paths and things like that that you can do with your life. There's so many options, and so to find somebody who loves what they're doing is very inspiring.
Well, I hope everybody can, find what they
Mhm.
find their passion
Yeah.
and follow it. And honestly, if you're doing something that you don't enjoy, find the thing that you do enjoy doing. But don't just do it because you enjoy it. I mean, do it because you can make it so much more and you can use it to become a better person yourself and help other people become better
Mhm.
people and there's more to it than just I'm going to do my hobby for the rest of my life, but that is really important. You have to love what you do. Even if you're an accountant, you've got to love the numbers need to speak to you. And if you enjoy that, what's that saying? If you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life, something
Mhm.
like that. I mean, I think it's very true, but that's also turning the ugly side into something passionate, like being doing the marketing, doing the formatting, do it like all of that little nitty gritty. That has to be an enjoyable part of the process as well, so you don't get bogged down in the ugly part.
Well, thank you for studying with us today. We hope you can join us for our next podcast episode, where we will have another study session with discussions of social sciences in reality and music.
Well, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.